Welcome to Come Back to Number 2. I'm Echo Frank Greywolf. I am your host, and I just got poked in the back of the head by a tree. Okay, so this is part 2 of Just for Fun. So I did a live on Instagram, and I was talking about boxing and fighting and your cardio and the important parts of adaptation. Now the reason why I did that is so that you guys understand that you have to be well-rounded if you're going to be a fighter. Period. You can't just rely on one martial art. You can't just rely on what you know. And I will make another video after this, and it will be about understanding fighting and environment. So right now, let's finish this. But the next video is understanding fighting and environment. You need to understand that while you are learning, while you are just starting out, as a martial artist, the younger you start, the better your chances are of being extraordinary or extraordinary. And the reason why I say it is if you need to look at the people who came up as prodigies in martial arts. If you look at the prodigies, I'll use Brandon Lee for an example. Because of his father and his lineage, everybody expected him to be a great martial artist. Same thing with Shannon Lee, which if you check out their movies, they're excellent martial artists. But another prodigy and one of my idols is Mark Dacascos. Both of his parents were martial arts. So it was hand down that in his destiny, he would be a martial artist. None of my parents were martial artists. Most of the people in my family, on my mom's side, almost all my uncles except maybe one or two went to the military. On my dad's side, there was only 3 of them. My dad tried to get in the military. He didn't. My other uncle, the younger brother, didn't, and the oldest brother, who just passed away, was in the army. So I wanted to go into the military, not because it was a family tradition, but I had my reasons, and I wanted to go in young, and that shit didn't happen. And I got into the military at 37, and I got out at 37 because my leg got fucked up, but I also found out that I can't shoot worth shit, or at least not a rifle. I have an honorable discharge, my DD-214 is at home, my military cat card is over there, and, you know, I will never be accused of stolen valor. I never got deployed, but that doesn't make me any less a vet, because most people will do everything they can to avoid going to the military, and this is not a military video. But I learned my weaknesses while I was in the army. Alright? The one thing I learned for sure is that I cannot do BJJ. I suck at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Now, regular Jiu-Jitsu, when I first learned it in the early 80s and mid-80s, we didn't roll all over the ground. And Judo, we didn't roll all over the ground. We threw people to the ground, but we never rolled all over the ground. No. Now, in modern Jiu-Jitsu, it's a thin line between modern Jiu-Jitsu and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. There's a lot of grappling, a lot of rapping, and then there's gi and no gi. And sometimes I don't know which one I'm watching. I'll be honest about it. Sometimes I don't know which one I'm watching. But I've also taken small stints in capoeira, drunken master, little tiger, little dragon, little snake, little crane. You know, I've taken accentuating steps to make sure that if I can recognize a style, I can beat the style. The trick is, can I beat the martial artist using the style? So, as a jack of all trades, you have to understand, you need to be well-rounded because there's going to be someone with a skill better than yours. And you need to have equal amount or a counter skill to that amount. And I know what you're thinking, and yes, Gatorade is thirsty, they need to give me a job. What does countermeasures mean? Alright, so let's say I'm not a good fighter, but I have this Gatorade bottle. This is the place that I'm going to jab it. So if I block and I jab, I'm jabbing it right here in your sternum. Alright? Because that's going to be fun for me. It's not going to be fun for you. The trick is I have to get through your defenses to get it there. Alright? And this is the part that people leave off on fighting. If I'm a good fighter and you're a great fighter, I can still beat your ass. I just got to get through your defenses to get there. I need you to fuck up. I need you to get cocky and make a mistake. If you make that mistake, if you get cocky and make that mistake, I have a better chance of beating you at your own game. Understand why that's going to be fun? This is a strike to the throat. If I'm going to teach you something, I'm going to teach you what works. I'm going to teach you lethal ordnance, where everybody else wants to teach you deeper, deeper, make your stance deeper. Regardless of the fact that I had a hip replacement, so my stance can't get any deeper. It has to be in a comfortable position, which is here. So if I get here, granted, I'm braced. I'm braced, so I shouldn't be able to be knocked down. That's not always the case. Sometimes you can be braced. If that person is stronger than you physically, they're probably going to knock you the fuck down. Sorry. I'm going to tell you the truth about it. I'm braced. But if someone was to come along in front or in the back and push me, and they were physically stronger than me, I'm going forward or I'm going backwards. I'm going to the side. Now, if I see it coming, I can pull and sidestep, put my foot out and trip them. I can grab them and I can judo throw them, or I can push them off. Again, you have to be well-rounded. You have to be able to adapt. You have to learn quick, fast, and in a hurry, because if you don't, shit can go wrong. And when shit goes wrong while you're fighting, you're going to know about it, because you're going to be the one that's down and out. Sorry, I had to make sure it's still recording. Now, like I said, in the Army, it was already teaching us Taekwondo. Luckily for me, I already knew Taekwondo and some Kempo. The problem is I don't have a belt in either one of them. But if I'm fighting a guy and they're doing this Taekwondo stuff, click, click, click. Yeah, that was more Kung Fu, excuse me. But if they're doing this shit, boom, 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 and then going up higher and higher, I got what they got going on. So when they're going boom, boom, I'm getting back. And as they go higher and higher, their bottom base leg is open. So I may have to take one for the team and sweep the foot, because they're too busy showing me their range. Alright? So I don't have that range anymore. So I have to fight smarter, not harder. I have to be more rounded. So if you're sitting here and we're going Taekwondo and we're both boom, boom, boom. Okay, what did you see? So, perfect example of Taekwondo. Here we go. Boom, boom, boom. My foot keeps tapping. Alright? Now the first time I did that, I only went down once because I was losing balance. But that would have been more like Kung Fu. But they were the exact same kick. Boom, boom, boom. Alright? Now depending on, don't laugh at my blue socks. Now depending on who's teaching you what, who's training you what, all martial art kicks are kind of related. Taekwondo tornado kick is the Kempo hurricane kick. Reverse Kempo tornado kick is the reverse Kempo hurricane kick, tornado kick for Taekwondo, hurricane kick for Kempo. The thing is, when will you get the chance to use that outside of the movies? You more than likely won't. I mean, you can chance it, and you could get lucky. Jesus could be with you that day. On an offset, Jesus might not be with you that day. He might be sleeping. So you have to understand, you don't take dangerous chances while fighting. You keep that shit basic, because basics work. So when you're complaining that your sensei is only teaching you, he's only teaching me outside to inside crescent kicks. He's got me doing this 20 times a day for 2 hours. As mad as you may be, you're going to need that. Now the next day, for 2 hours, he's got you teaching inside to outside crescent kicks. Boom. See my guard's not right? See how I've adapted? Okay? So he's got you doing that. For 2 hours a day, you go home. You're pissed off. You don't put that work in. You bump into somebody who's like me. He's been doing this shit since they were 7. You piss me off. And I go for this front kick. And you can block it. Low angle, outside to inside kick. Kicking me in my knee. Dislocating my shit. But you were too busy bitching about it instead of putting in that fucking work. Better yet, I'm throwing this front kick. You can block it with an inside to outside and then counter. Boom, boom, but you were too busy bitching instead of putting in that work. See where we're going? You got to be well-rounded. You got to be willing to put in that work. Because if you're not going to put in that work, you're going to get beat up like a jerk. Understand that shit. You have to put in that work. You literally have to put in that work. Excuse me. Now, I will let you in on the secret. If you are a true martial artist, you are the most deadliest thing walking. Everything that you touch should be able to be used as your weapon. Some of us, not me, can use one of these leaves as a weapon. I will call bullshit on that because I would say that most people who believe that has probably been watching too much TV. Alright? However, I also have to call bullshit on me calling that bullshit because all things are impossible. Because as they said in Mass Effect 2, many things are impossible until they're actually done. So it's a catch-22. But again, if you go to a school and they are not to your liking and you go to a different school, but neither of the schools is giving you what you need. And you can search schools and schools and schools. But before you go do that, my question is, are you putting in that work with what they taught you? Because I can't do forms. I never did a form a day in my life when I was taking martial arts until I took Taekwondo. I was never taught katas. I was never taught forms until I took Taekwondo. Master Ennis was a great teacher. I was a horrible student in Taekwondo. But only because I couldn't do Tosan or Tungu. And that's the low-level classic katas of how to get a 7th degree yellow belt. Alright? But, in my defense, before I took Taekwondo, I was fighting as a child from the age of 6 to 12 using the martial arts that I was already taught, which was karate and kung fu. Now, why did I suck at Taekwondo? Mental block, because it was something new. I didn't know shit about katas because every school I went to, boom, this is how you hit people. Boom, this is where you hit people. When I took Taekwondo, it was, you are going to do Tungu or Tosan. And what you're going to do is, you're going to take 2 steps up, block to the right, take 2 steps, block. Basically, it's really one whole fucking step. Because you're here, punch, block. Technically, I fucked that up. So let's try that again. So, it's punch, block, punch, block, block, punch. Yeah, you get the gist. I still can't do this shit. But when we had sparring, no one could keep up with me. So you tell me, how does this happen? So I'm going to tell you how it happens. There are enigmas in every class. There are those guys that suck ass so bad while they're in class. But if you take their asses out of class and put them in an alleyway and tell them to fight their way out, they will beat everybody's ass. I am that guy. I had to be that guy because a lot of people that get into martial arts, when they go home, they come to a neighborhood much like this. There's no violence. There's nobody trying to shake their ass down for what little bit of pocket change they got. There's not people jumping out of the bushes saying, give me your fucking money. They didn't have that. I had that in West Haven. You know, I had to deal with that shit. So being able to fight helped. Now when you train and you are not sparring, and when you are not going home to put that work in, you will not gain your full martial art paralysis. Right? And that's paralysis, not paralysis. So you have to learn how to adapt if you are not going to put in that work. If you go to class, and class is an hour and 10 minutes. When you come home, do an hour and 30. And I know you're thinking, but I just did an hour and 10. Well, you got your respite on your drive home, especially if you're not driving. Now, if you are driving, okay, maybe put in an extra hour, you know. But this is how I did that before I got old enough to where my bones and shit act like they don't want to fucking work. So if my style some days look better than others, because some days I fucking really can feel it, and some days I can't. Some days my body does not do what my mind wants it to do. I want to get up and train every day. My body does not allow that shit. Alright? It happens. I never thought it would as a younger man, but it does happen. So now I have to improve. And then my hip replacement is like the main issue. This leg, I had devastating left kicks. And I'm not left-legged, but I had some devastating left kicks that I could pull out of anywhere. Now I can't do that anymore because of this hip replacement. I'm trying to keep this help together so that I won't be less than basic. You know? But understand, basics keep you alive. I want to thank you guys for that. This is Kung Fu Habit number 2. I am Echo Fan Grey Wolf. Be seeing you in the next one.